Good morning, Rabbi Isai. You guys can continue doing that Torah Nadar, whatever you need to do. Rabbi Isai, we're holding on the bottom of Daf Zayin Amud Beis. We started the Masechta that if a kohen has the wrong machshava during the shechita, during the 4 avodas of the Beis Hamikdash, the 4 main ones, shechita, kabbalah, ilach, zrika, he thought about a different carbon that's called shinui kodesh. Then the carbon is okay. You keep on bringing it. The person bringing it has to bring another one, but you could continue with that carbon. Besides 2. It's 2 that you don't continue anything. You made one mistake, you messed up, you toss it. Chatos and carbon Pesach. So yesterday we learned all about a Pesach. How do we know Pesach? Now today we're going to discuss Chatos. Chatos Menolan. How do you know that if you mess up on the Chatos, you can't use it any longer? The Chsiv. V'shochat oisa lechatos shedhei shchita l'shem chatos. This is referring to shinui kodesh. So today we're going to be discussing a number of things. Shinui kodesh, shinui bailam. You have to know these 2 things in chatos. You also have to know that the chatos is the mitzvah. You have to think about the lishma. But how do you know they have to toss it? Those are 2 separate things. You can't jump straight to tossing. First, you have to know about that mitzvah. The mitzvah is to have lishma. Just like every other carbon, it's a mitzvah to think of the lishma when you make a shlamim, a toida, a noila, whatever it is. You have to think about, I'm doing a noila. If you don't, so you messed up on the mitzvah, and you continue going, but there still is a mitzvah. So we're going to have to do step 1, find a pasuk or a source for the mitzvah part. Once we know that, then we can go on to the second. You can't jump straight and say, hey, you have to toss it into the garbage. First you have to know that there's a mitzvah. Then you say, okay, it's ma'akiv. That we call ma'akiv. So we're going to need 2 sources for Shinui Kodesh and 2 sources for Shinui Bailam. So first of all, we're starting slow. It says by shchita, b'shochat oisa lechatos, shetei shchita l'shem chatos. In terms of the kodesh part, when you think about the chatos, you have to think that it's only chatos. You can't think now I'm doing a shlamim. Ashkhan shchita, kabbalah menayin, minalan. So this is actually an easier daf. Limudim, but easy, and a lot of stuff we saw already. And we're going to even have a klal u'prat u'klal that we had literally word for word on Amud Beis, very short Amud Beis, and it goes very nicely with the chart. You all remember the chart. If not, you'll see it again, you'll remember. So we want to find the avodos, the shchita, the kabbalah, the hilacha, and the zrika. So we're not going to see hilacha, but that's included in Kabbalah. Rashi says, and we'll see in a second. The chsiv, ashkechan shchita, kabbalah menana. How do you know you have to have the shma by the kabbalah sadam, the receiving of the blood in that vessel? So this again is shinui kodesh. When he receives the blood, he cannot be thinking about another carbon other than the chatos. The word chatos is extra. Belokach means to receive, so we know that you have to have lishma. So now we have two out of the 3. This is Rika Menolan. How do I know they have to throw the blood with the intent of a chatos and not for a shlamim, let's say? V'chiper olav hakoyin meichatasa. What does v'chiper mean? So this is very important to drill it home. V'chiper, how do you get the kapara? Why did you bring a chatos? Because you sinned. You did an aveira, bring a chatos. Where do you get the kapara? Says Rashi, v'chiper hainu b'zrika. So that we're going to say over and over the whole Masechta. Zrika is the number 1 out of all the 4 avodas. Number 1 is zrika. What's the last and the least important one? Hilacha. Because you don't even need it sometimes. If you're very close, you don't even need it. V'chiper hainu b'zrika. Now, says Rashi, hilacha lo yitzrich kra. I'm not going to look for a source for the hilacha. Why? Not because it's not important. The b'chlal kabbalahi, misravilei. That shows that there's actually, it's not that. It's within Kabbalah. Okay. Says the Gemara. What do we learn? The zrika, which is the kapara, which is the forgiveness part, that has to be with the intent of chatos. Says Gemara Ashkechon Shinu Kodesh. So we just established that you cannot think about another carbon. Shinu Ba'aylam Manolan. How do you know that you can't think, the Kohen can't think that I'm thinking, instead of thinking that Reuven is going to get the kapara, I think to myself, Shimon is going to get the kapara. How do I know that I can't do that? Omakra, Allah. On him. Allah, V'loy al chaveroi. Can't think about your friend. Oh, so now we established Kodesh, we established Bailam. What we don't have is the source that you have to toss it out. You know you have to think about it. It's a good thing to think about. It's a mitzvah. But what if I don't think about it? Maybe it should be like a shlamim. If I don't think about the shlamim, I think to myself it's a taida. I think to myself it's a oila. I didn't ruin it. I don't have to throw it into the garbage. I could continue bringing it as a carbon. Yesterday we had the first daf, but yesterday on top of Amud Beis, it doesn't make any sense. Just because you messed up once doesn't make sense that you should continue messing up. You messed up, okay. Chatasi, abisi, bashati, do tshuva. You look forward, you go weiter. Not by a chatos. How do you know that by a chatos is ma'akiv? You have to throw it out into garbage. I say garbage, I mean what? Burn. Ashkechon mitzvah, lakim in olam. Kidomar avuna b'reder Yeshua, chatos chatose. So that's a limud we're going to have soon, in a few minutes. It says by nazir. A nazir brings three types of karbanos. One of them is a chatos. What's a nazir? A person who said he's going to refrain from drinking wine and eating grapes. When he's done with whatever period is, the typical period is 30 days, there's a whole process he has to go through. And one of the things is to bring three karbanos. A chatos. Now it's a little bit different than a regular chatos. We're talking about a chatos that you bring because you did an aveira. A nazir didn't really do an aveira. He brings it as not as a kapara, but as a way to get out of his part of the procedure, just like he cuts his hair off and puts it under the pot and boils and this. It's the whole thing. One of the things he does is he brings a chatas, but not because of the aveira. Al-Chanami, chatas, chatas, is also in our sugi, it says, we use that extra vav to tell us that it's ma'akiv. You have to throw it out. Ashkechon mitzvah b'shini kodesh, uzriko b'shini bailim, bein mitzvah, bein la'akiv. La'akiv b'chol avodas b'shini kodesh, u'b'shar avodas b'shini bailim, bein mitzvah, bein la'akiv min Allah. Amar Rabbi Yoina, Ashkechon mitzvah b'shini kodesh. The whole top line is the mitzvah part. It's a good thing, it's a very good idea to think about what carbon you're bringing. Uzrika b'shinu bailim, and then if you go down to the shinu bailim, we only have the last avodah called zrika, bailim mitzvah bein lakim. I figured out that it's a mitzvah to think about it. Not only that, if you don't think about it, by chatas, gone. There's no hope for this chatas. Lakim b'chol avodos b'shinu kodesh, u'b'shar avodos b'shinu bailim, bailim mitzvah bein lakim min olam. How do I know? Let's go slow. The whole top line, that it's ma'akiv. You see it's red question marks. I don't know. I don't have a source that you cannot continue if you messed up. Maybe it's like a shlamim that you can continue. Then you go to the bottom, the shinu bailam part. Shara avodas means anything other than zrika. So shchit and kabbalah, I have zero over there. So bein mitzvah, bein la'akiv min. I'm missing it all. Oh, I could learn a regular chatos for every single shogeg in the Torah from a nazir. This is our nazir, Rabbi Turjuman. He has to bring three types of karbanos: a chatos, a oil, and a shlamim. So I'm going to learn from the chatos. This nazir, the kohen brings va'asas chatos. Everything has to be with the right kavanah. Now, let's think about it for a second. If we have another pasuk that tells us that you must think about the right carbon, what is it telling us? Is it telling us that you have to think about it and it's a mitzvah to think about it? Or it's telling us that it's ma'akiv and you throw it into the garbage? What is it telling us? Why? Oh, we already have all this. The mitzvah part we took care of on top. So if I introduce another pasuk that tells you that you have to think about the right carbon, it obviously doesn't go to tell me a mitzvah. I already have that. So what is it going to tell me? Boom. It has to tell me the l'makiv is an extra pasuk. I have nothing to do with it for the mitzvah. I don't need it. I already have three psukim. Ashkechon shinu kodesh, shinu ba'alam and alan. Oh, so if we go back to this, so we just got a pasuk la'akiv on the top, shinu kodesh. But we're still missing 4 boxes. What do? So Rashi takes out these lines over here. He made it in the shinu kodesh, shinu ba'alam, actually mitzvah la'akiv and Omer Avuna. Omer Avuna b'rei the Rav Yeshua. Chatos chatos. So we mentioned them before. This is what it comes. That is extra vav. And then comes Rashi and says, well, that's not even enough. So let's see Rashi. He says, Gabi nozik siv, asas chatosav v'soy. You could even remember now, the Gemara brings it, but we'll say it again. It says in the same pasuk, chatosoy, oilasoy. So we have an extra vav. It should say, harei chatos. What says chatos? Harei lemitzvah. And then Rashi makes this little jump over here, ukeshlamim. And now we have to also introduce the shlamim part. It's like shlamim. Ma shlamim lechalakta ben bein zrika l'shar avodos. There's no difference between zrika and all the other 3 avodos. B'shin bailam mitzvah. Avchazah l'chalim ben zrika l'shar avodos la'akev. Avchazah l'chalim ben zrika l'shar avodos la'akev. Harei l'cham mitzvah v'ikov. So we have everything. So we learn from shlamim. There's no difference between all the avodos. There's no difference between a mitzvah and a la'akev. Okay. Says the Gemara. But wait a minute, that same pasuk that you brought extra vav in the word chatasai, it says another word there, oilasai. So why don't you learn the vav in oilasai? It should say oilas, from the same svara that you had before. It's in the same pasuk even. Oilasai, my darshas ben. Ularavina, minchas, minchasai. The next pasuk, it says minchasai. What do I do with the vav minchas? Nesach, niskoi. What do I do with niskoi? My darshas bill. Says, well, yeah, it's good cash, and I have every vav. I'm going to do something with it. It's beautiful. Every 5 minutes we have another halacha we never knew of, we never heard of. When you bring a mincha to the Beis Hamikdash together with the karban musaf, you bring a karban musaf, it comes together. We never knew this. Who knows? Some people. Very few of us. 10% of us know this. When you bring a karban musaf in the Beis Hamikdash, a karban musaf for Rosh Hashanah, great. Karban musaf. You have to accompany it with a mincha. This mincha has a different halacha. Minchasim in iskayim, the wine that you bring with it, and the mincha that you bring with it, this flour, whatever it is, that comes together with the karban, balayla. You can bring it at night. Minchasim in iskayim, afilu u'machar, even the next day. Okay, you got one, the mincha, the vav of the mincha, the nesech, the vav of the nesech. But Eloi oilas soy medarshus. What are you going to do with the vav of the oila? Besu migamri ma'adadi. Oh, and stamas you have a problem. You're learning a regular chatas. A guy ate chaylev. A guy was mechal Shabbos. You're going to learn it from what? From a nazir. Mechatas nazir. Mechatas chaylev. Mechatas nazir like gamra. How can you learn one from the other? Mitzayra brings different karbanas, or bring different karbanas, more than one. But a regular Mechal Shabbos brings one. So since the Mitzvah is chomer, has to bring more, you can't learn something that's easy from something that's more chomer, something that's light to something that's heavy, something that's chomer. So chatas nazim and chatas chaylev, and you can't go the reverse either, says the Gemara. You can't go the other way around. You can't learn anything from chatas chaylev. Chaylev is a kares. On a mitzayra, did I say mitzayra?
Yeah,
Nazir. Okay, wrong one. Sorry. Where am I? Yeah, here. Sorry, my bad. I was wondering why there's birds over there. Okay. Chadas Nazir. But okay, similar thing. This way you can't learn because it has more karbanas. This way you can't learn because it has cars. Elo Amarava. Asim chatas mitzayra. Okay, forget the Nazir. We're not going to learn from his chatas. There's another chatas. Luckily, we have a mitzayra. A person who has saras on his hand, he has to go through a serious procedure. We saw some of it, the oil on the blood and the this and the that, and he brings korbanos. One of them is a chatos. So just like his chatos needs a lishma, it's ma'akev. We're going to learn also. Well, we're going to learn everybody from him. D'chsiv, we'll see exactly. But also hakoyin es chatos. This is going to teach us ma'akev. Where? In Shini Kodesh. We're still looking for a little bit of Shini Kodesh Ma'akiv. Shiu kol ha'siyoyz Shem Chatos. We already have it. We already know about Chaylev. We already know a regular karban Chatos. We have all the 3 psukim in the top. So now you give me another pasuk. I'm going to learn la'akiv from it. V'ashkichon shinu kodesh. Okay, so you taught me shinu kodesh. Shinu baile minalan. How do I know the other shinu when the kohen thinks about another human being, not another carbon. He's thinking that the kapara should be, instead of for Reuven, should be for Shimon. Shinu baile minalan. And I'm just going to chazer over so we get it good. I could get it. That the Shinui Bailam is only when he does Zrika. Or if he does Shchita and Kabbalah, he's thinking about the Zrika. But the Shinui Bailam is about Zrika. Omakra v'chiper al hamitar. He's doing a kapara for the person that gets the tahara al hamitar zeh v'lo al hamitar chaver. This teaches us about Shinui Bailam. You should not do a Shinui Bailam. You shouldn't think about somebody else. Ask the Gemara, you cannot learn a regular chatas. Chatas chaylev, what's chatas chaylev, Rabbi Yisai? A regular chatas, all the chatos of the world. Why not? Because it has other korbanos. Chatas mitzvah, chatas chaylev, you can't go the reverse. If you want to go the other way, you can't learn mitzvah from a chaylev. Mitzvah didn't do anything wrong, really. He spoke lashon hara, but he's not getting chorus. The reason why he brings the chatas is to be metarim, to get him back into the community so he can come, and he's not tamid anymore. It's not for the kapara part. So maybe you can't learn a mitzvah from a regular chatas. Mechad lo yasya. Oh, sorry. Says the Gemara, very, very good. So what do we have now? Here, we have a chatas nazir. We said we can't learn a chayla from a nazir. We also said we can't learn a chayla from a mitzvah. You know what? If we can combine all three together, each one has a positive, each one has a negative. But at the end of the day, you put them together, and we could come up with something common and learn all the halachas that we need to learn. Why? If the Torah teaches us that you need a lishma by chatas mitzayra and by chatas nazir and by chatas chaylev, but at the end of the day, I don't need the Torah to tell us all three. The Torah could have done away with only two, and the Torah yet said a third one, so that third one is extra. To learn the Shema, I can take two and learn the third one from the two. Why does the Torah have to repeat itself three times? The third time is to give us that extra oomph, that if you mess up, throw it into the garbage. That's why I need the third one. So that's all the Gemara is going to try to do now, is see if I can learn one from two. If I can learn one from two, so that one that I can learn from, I don't need him. Why did the Torah say it? So it said it to teach us ma'akiv. The hayloi lichtov. Which one do you want to get rid of? Which one shouldn't have the Torah said it? Okay, here we go. These guys are going to stay in the same place, the entire chart. It's very simple. But the Gemara is saying, don't say on the left. Don't say the chaylev. I don't need it. I'm going to learn a regular chatas, combination of mitzvah and nazir. What are you going to say? The mitzvah has something special? Well, the nazir doesn't have something special. The nazir has something special. The mitzvah. The bottom line is, they need the Shema. And if they need the Shema, so why did the Torah have to say by chaylev? I can learn chaylev from them. No. I cannot learn chaylev from nazir or mitzvah because they have one thing in common that the chaylev doesn't have, and that is they have extra korbanos. Learn the chaylev from the others. They have other korbanos. Okay, so let's do this. Don't say anything. The Torah should be quiet, not say a concept of lishma by nazir, and I'll learn the nazir from mitzvah and chaylev. Rabbi said, "This man kiss from Hashem. What did you guys do before davening and in the beginning of the shir? Hataras nedarim. That's a she'ela. She'ela means I could go to the rabbi and I could say, Rabbi, I made a mistake. I didn't realize what it means not to drink wine. I can't make kiddush. Can't make avdallah. Dalit koises and Pesach. I'm making a pomegranate grape juice. Sinished. I need to get out of this. So Mamela, you cannot learn Nazir from these two because these two guys have something special that Nazir doesn't have. What are we left with? Mitzvah. Don't say it by Mitzvah. Don't say the Shema by Mitzvah. Learn the Mitzvah from the Nazir and the Chaylev. And if that's the case, then I have an extra pasuk by Mitzvah to teach us what? Ma'akiv. You cannot learn out from Nazir and Chaylev. Why? Because they do not have a Oilev Yored. If you're poor, you're stuck. It doesn't matter. If you're a Nazir and you're poor, you have to bring the karbanos of a poor person. What's just one carbon? You don't get a special dispensation. Oh, you're poor, you can bring a flower. By Mitzayra, you can bring birds if you don't have the money. Elo Makra, this is Ari Simon's favorite teretz of the Gemara. Elo Makra, Zoi Satayra La'oila B'la Mincha. Hekisha Ya'akasav L'Shlamim, Ashlamim Ben Chinu Kodesh Ben Shimon Ba'alam Bina L'Shma and the Mitzvah. You learn from the Shlamim, like we saw in Rashi before. There's no difference between Kodesh, Ba'alam. You need L'Shma for the Mitzvah. Rabbi said, what happened? Let's think about it. Before, we had all these psukim. Here. All these psukim on top. What did it teach us? V'shachat, v'lokach, v'chiper. All to teach us what? Mitzvah. Now the Gemara is going to say, no. All the mitzvah, I learned from Shlamim, from Kokeli. And b'meila, all these psukim are extra. What do they teach us? La'akiv. Now the mitzvah part is already learned from Shlamim. Therefore I learn mitzvah from Shlamim. And these three psukim over here, to teach us the ma'akiv. Says the Gemara, very good, I just learned the chatos, the regular chatos. Chatos chaylev, every normal chatos of chil Shabbos and eating fat. The Gemara brings now 4 chatois that are oile v'yored. Depending on how wealthy you are, that's what kind of carbon you bring. So because there's a scale here, so you can't really learn these particular ones. Avodah Zarah, Shmiras Kol is that you know a certain testimony, you don't want to say it. Ubitis Fosayim, and swearing falsely on the past and the future. It doesn't say that you need the Shema by all these 4. It says the Gemara, first of all, let's get rid of one. Avodah Zarah I can learn from Chaylev. Why? Shekin Karas Kamaisa. You learn Karas from Karas, it's the same. You do Avodah Zarah, you get Karas. You do Chaylev, you get Karas. V'hanach Kuli Asyon b'me'atzad. And the rest we're going to learn from Me'atzad. These 3 chatois of Oile v'Yored, we're going to learn from the other 3 chatois that we discussed in the beginning of this year, the Mitzayra, the Nazir, and the Chaylev. Just what? You're going to tell me Chaylev is different. It has Karas. The only one of the top 3, which is actually 4, was Avodah Zarah that has Karas. We got rid of that already. Shmiras Kol, Bitus Fusayim, doesn't have Karas. So maybe I shouldn't be able to learn from Chaylev. Oh, that's why I have the Chatas Mitzayra and the Chatas Nazir. But those are also different. Why? Because they have a lot of karbanas. But the Chaylev doesn't have a lot of karbanas. The Kitzur, from the bottom 3, I can learn the top 3. B'meh hatzad. Torah Rabbanim Pesach bizmanoi l'shmoi kosher. When you bring a Korban Pesach on the Yudalid Nisan and you have in mind that's for Korban Pesach, kosher. Sheloi l'shmoi pasul. Obviously, on Yudalid Nisan, that's the first Mishnah in Zevachim. If you think in your mind that this is not a Korban Pesach, the Kohen thinks that this is an oila, he ruins it. You have to burn it. But the rest of the year, meaning before Pesach, l'shmoi pasul. If you do it l'shem Korban, now it's the reverse. If you have in mind that this is a Korban Pesach on Rosh Hashanah, you make it pasul. Sheloi l'shmoi kosher. But if not, if you don't make it, if you don't think about a Korban Pesach, you think about something else, then it's kosher. Sheloi b'kabatzin mimar tzeiba. How do I know that if you make a Korban Pesach before Pesach on Rosh Hashanah, it becomes a shlamim? Omar Avodah Shmuel, Omar Krov, v'im minatzoin karbonim lezevach shlamim l'Hashem. Dover haba minatzoin, something that comes from the sheep, from the flock, yeh lezevach shlamim. It should be a shlamim. Ema shlamim in midach rin eloi. What if he thought about a different carbon, not a shlamim? He thought about an oila. Maybe it shouldn't become. Any carbon that you think of is going to become a shlamim. Says Gemara, Ema called the shachid levi kavosei. Maybe you shechted like you go chveis. It should be a oila. It'll be an oila. Says Gemara, you have eksiv l'shlamim v'zevach. If the word shlamim is first, great. Kitakamers. You think about an oila, l'zevach, any carbon. Shlamim, it turns into shlamim. L'kol the shachadlei shlam levi. Anything that you have in mind, I don't care what carbon you think, it turns into a shlamim. Ema l'zevach klal, shlamim prat. Very simple. The pasuk says l'zevach, for a carbon. Look how many carbonas there are. There's chatas, asham, oila, shlamim, pesach. It's a generalization. But then the Torah says shlamim. It's a specification. So what happens when you have a generalization specification and you don't continue on to another generalization? You just have a klal and a prat. So the prat actually explains what I meant in the klal. I did generalize, but I'm telling you now it's very specific. It's just a shlamim, a pesach and shlamim. If I were to add another klal, then I open it up again. Then I say it's very generalized. It's all karbanos. But the prat teaches us that it has to be similar. They have to have a certain thing in common to the shlamim. But it's way more than just the shlamim. It's a lot of karbanos. And at this point in the Gemara, we only have two things. We have a klal and a prat. And the Gemara explains, you don't have to even, it says, klal uprat, when you have those two things only, ein baklal elo masha b'prat. The whole generalization is nothing but the specification. It is the specification teaches us what the klal is. And what is that? Shlamim in midachrin eloi. The Torah says only shlamim, so it's shlamim. It said lezevach, very general, all karbanos. No, it's only the shlamim. But Lashem Hadav Kalal, and that sugi Mamish had the same words even. It was a different pasuk, but the same thing. Lashem comes to include all karbanos. So Mela I have a klal prat of klal, which the Gemara is actually going to explain, and therefore I open it up to more karbanos. We had the same question also there. What's the connection? You have to have the two generalizations should be very similar to each other, and they're not. The first one is karbanos, lezevach, a certain type of karbanos. When it talks about to Hashem, called to Hashem, anything that goes to Hashem, you see, here he added birds here, and even bread. We had the same teretz in that sugya, that what the Rebbe Shmuel learned such a klal. It doesn't have to be the same generalization. It could be similar. And so what? So now I have a klal klal. Yatadon elikein a prat. It's similar to the prat. Ma prat mefarish shu shaloi l'shmoi. Shu shaloi l'shmoi. If you do it without the right intent, v'kosher, it's good. Av kol shaloi l'shmoi, v'kosher. As Gemara, imay a prat mefarish davar ba b'neder b'nedava. But the prat is shlamim, neder and nedava, something that you bring when you promise it, you want to be nice, you do a neder and nedava. The whole psukim that we had, a neder and nedava, Ariel, Arizu, I've called above neder and nedava, and therefore what? It's going to exclude oilu shlamim in chatas v'ashem loy. Oil is also nedava. It's for my goodwill, but not. I'm not mechuy. Chatos you have to bring when you eat something b'shoigig or you mechal shach. You have to bring it v'ashem loy. Says Gemara, you're right. Elo lezevach ribuy. I'm not learning a klal, prat klal. I'm learning a ribuy. And the ribuy tells me all karbanos, the lezevach. I'm not going with the klal, prat klal anymore. All karbanos without the lishma, without the right lishma, are kosher. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day and have a gewaldike yontiv, a good gebench. York simchasim toiva.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDaf.com.